A number of prominent Nigerians have carved a niche for themselves in their chosen careers and written their names boldly in the Hall of Fame. One of such prides of Nigeria is Professor Damilola Sunday Olawuyi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, SAN.
Anything about Olawuyi Sunday, SCN, is ordained by God. And if you look at his profile, you discover that he's God's anointed. And anything that involves him, people must rally around to celebrate him.
Fantastic. He has an inspiration to us all. He has achieved so much, and it's good that he's been celebrated. He cannot be celebrated enough. We need a lot more like him to inspire our youth.
Professor Olawuyi, an indigene of Igbajo town in Osun State, Nigeria, was born on August 28, 1983 in Ibadan, Oyo State. Growing up in a family of 6, Olawuyi, being the last child, was energetic and outspoken.
I thank God for the achievements of my dad. No education, my mom too, no education. My mom, now of blessed memory, was a trader, so she just had a store that she was selling things. My dad was a welder. So he learned trade as a welder. He's still very much alive and doing well, but I use was because he's no longer practicing. But his profession, the apprenticeship he learned was welding. So he was pretty much a roadside welder. But he was very successful in that. He was able to develop a business from the scratch and built a very, very good company that was able to at least generate income for the family. Now, did he have enough money to be able to afford those schools? I think no. I think he just prioritized education. He told us that because of money, he could not go to school. So he would do everything humanly possible to ensure that at least we were able to go to school. And we're very lucky that, I'm the last child, so by the time it was my turn to go to school, that was when private schools had just started. So but my siblings, a lot of them did not have the same privilege of going to private schools. But I and my immediate elder one were just sort of lucky that was when private schools were starting, and it wasn't easy for him. I recall that he had to make a lot of sacrifice to gather that welding money together and ensure that he saw us through these private schools.
He had his elementary education at Inri Nursery and Primary School, Ibadan, and later attended Igbenodon Secondary School, Benin City, where he sat for and excelled in his West African School Certificate examination in year 2000.
I did my junior school in Ibadan. So I was in Abeokuta for just 1 year, and then I moved to Ibadan. And then I did my junior school certificate in Ibadan. And I had the best result in the entire Oyo State at the time, in a school called Nigdal College at the time. So I had the best result in junior WAEC, as they call it. And I remember it was well celebrated. And I remember then I was in the science class. After I got the junior WAEC, I already knew I was interested in law. But I was told then that when you have such a good result, you should be in science class. So I was compelled to enroll in the science class, even though my interest was clearly law. By the time I got to this senior secondary school period, I was much more composed, and I cleared my results at once, both WAEC and NECO.
He later graduated from Igbenodon University, Okada, Nigeria, with a first-class degree in law in 2005.
When I got to the first year of school, I did very, very well. I remember in the first semester, I had 11 A's out of 12 courses. And everyone was shocked that, who is this guy, coming from the sciences, So it was, I remember the result was published and it was well celebrated that, wow, 11 A's out of 12. And so for me, it was a challenge. How do I keep it up, to ensure that when next they publish the result, I don't drop from 11 A's to 1, So I began to take that seriously, keeping that grade. And to the glory of God, I was able to maintain that sort of standing all through the 5 years of the law program. So at the end of the day, of course, with that sort of grade, I was able to graduate eventually with a first-class degree in law, and as the overall best graduating student at Igbinedion University. I was also the valedictorian, the best graduating student, not only in the College of Law, but in the entire university that year. Graduating with first-class degree from the university and as the overall best student taught me one important lesson about life, which is if you work very hard, if you focus on what you're doing, there could be a reward at the end of the day, because my result was well celebrated. I won a lot of awards. I was given a lot of cash awards on the graduation day, and I felt very inspired to say, if this is the reward for success, I want more. I went to the Nigerian Law School in Abuja, and again, I was able to graduate with a first-class degree in the Nigerian Law School, the very first from a private university to achieve it. I felt motivated as well.
In his early age, his father, Pa Francis Olawuyi, encouraged him to read by buying different newspapers for him.
In my entire generation, we've never had a lawyer. So there was really nobody to guide us to say, but my dad, being a very, very strong, I learned a lot from him. He did not have any education. His education stopped at primary 6 because of lack of funding from his parents. But that little education he had, primary 6 education, worked a lot for him. He was able to read newspapers and all of that. So he would normally bring newspapers home for us to read, and I would read. And he noticed from an early age that I was quite interested in current affairs and always reading the news. And I would read about Damilola, SAN. I would read about the late Chief Ganifa, SAN. And we would normally talk about them. And so it was quite clear to me that I was interested in these people and in their achievements. But nobody told us how to do it. We did not know what to do at the time.
Professor Damilola Olawuyi, a science student, ended up studying law by mistake.
When I finished secondary school and it was time to go to the university, we went to Igbinedion University again because I had finished from Igbinedion Secondary School, and then the Igbinedion was a new private university at the time, so it was a natural choice for us to consider it. And I went there. Don't forget I was in the science class, so naturally I went there to pick up the form for computer science. I was meant to start computer science that year. But when we got there, they said, oh, sorry, we are not starting it this year. We are starting computer science next year. So I called my dad. I was very sad that, guess what, they don't have computer science. So he told me, what do they have? And I said, well, they have law. They have, he said, buy the form. For law. I said, law? He said, yes. You have always been interested in Biography. You have always been interested in current affairs. Even though you were in science class, you took government. I took government. I took literature, even though I was in science class. So he said, buy the form for law and come back home.
We not say that God has went ahead of you?
I think so. I think this is quite a remarkable story of my journey being ordained by God, because I could have, and if they had computer engineering or computer science that year, I would have studied that. And I think I would have missed out on a lot of things, because it was quite clear from a young age that I was a good talker. I knew how to express myself in the family, and I had strong interest in current affairs. So I think God's grace led me to the right profession.
Olawuyi holds a doctorate, DPhil, in energy and environmental law from the University of Oxford, a Master of Law LLM from Harvard University and another Master of Law from the University of Calgary.
I went to Canada for my first master's degree, and while I was in the program, I was very fortunate to get an internship first at Greenpeace International, which is in Washington, D.C. So I worked there for a few months, and then I got another internship at the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. So I moved there for that internship program. And after that, I was able to get a position to continue to do more research work at the UN. But around the same time, I got an offer from Harvard University for a second master's degree, full scholarship. In the period between, finishing my first master's and going for the second one was when I did my NYC in Nigeria. So, of course, shortly after the NYC, I went back to Harvard University.
Olawuyi, one of the youngest senior advocates of Nigeria academics, became a full professor at the age of 32.
The most important thing in life is to be where you should be. When you're doing what you like and what is your calling, I think you will thrive in it. And that was my experience. I think making that switch to law from year one was a natural fit for me. I enjoyed classes. I was very happy. I said, yes, this is what I should have been doing since. So I did not miss the experiment at all. I mean, there's a lot of good work in the sciences, but I think it wasn't just for me.
Professor Damilola Olawuyi is an erudite scholar, very unassuming and very, very humble. He didn't allow his achievements in the legal profession to go into his head, and that is what I admire most in him. Very, very humble. It's humility exemplified. It's the keystone of intellectualism.
I think his story reads like a book of achievements. Definitely, it's an inspiration.
My story shows the reward for hard work, and I say it, and I always say to young ones that it shows that it doesn't matter where you're from, even if you are from the humblest of backgrounds like mine, no lawyer to look up to at the time, except from in my family. I was able to keep my eye on the goal.
He's an achiever, and it makes students understand in every class that do not limit yourself, do not put yourself down. There is no age to achieving goals. That once you focus on a particular thing, push it. So yeah, his determination is what touches us. He challenges us a lot in class.
This is the day that the Lord made, when we rejoice and be glad in. Oh, this is the day, another day that the Lord has.
The international jurist, professor of law, arbitrator, is a chancellor's fellow and director of the Institute for Oil, Gas, Energy, Environment and Sustainable Development, among others.
In addition to my teaching and research, I serve on the board of several international organizations. I'm the global vice chairman of the International Law Association, which is one of the oldest bodies on international law in the world. I also serve on the executive committees of a number of other associations worldwide. I'm a member of the academic advisory group of the International Bar Association on energy, in the energy section. I've served on the board of the Environmental Law Center in Canada. And of course, I recently I was appointed by the African Union as an expert, independent expert on their working group on energy and environment. So in this capacity, I provide advice to the African Union on energy, environment, natural resources, and the likes. And I just mentioned that I've also served as the co-chair of the African Interest Group in the American Society of International Law. So whether it's International Law Association, International Bar Association, American Society of International Law, I have been able to put there the voice, the African perspective, which is needed globally.
I call him a professor without borders because he traverses all the world, and which is a dint of, he's not on vacation, he's working, lecturing, delivering papers and writing.
ọlọ́dún ọjọ́ òní ẹlẹ́yẹ ọjọ́ òní àkókò oríire Professor Damilola Sunday Olawuyi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Hallelujah.
I'm proud that our state is being recognized and the segment is representing us, at least in the world and in the international community. We in the Ministry of Justice too, we are proud that our colleague is doing well. At least he's being called to the inner bar. And we are here today to show our support. And if there is anything you want from the Ministry of Justice and the State of Osun, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us. We are solidly behind you.
Ọmọ wa ló ń ṣe ọba adájọ́ àgbà Ọ̀ṣun state lónìí. Ó ní àwa wá síbi àwa ìyàwó àtọmọ lóṣù àtọkùnrin ilé la wá ṣe torí ọmọ náà ọmọ dáadáa ọmọ onírẹ̀lẹ̀ ọmọ olóríire ni.
He's a vibrant young man, very articulate, intelligent, dynamic. His path is worthy of emulation, and they should do everything to do that.
The energy expert is the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, Research, Innovation and Strategic Partnerships of Afe Babalola University at Dokiti, Abuad. He is the President of the International Law Association, the Nigerian branch.
We are always proud of you. Every day, every minute, every hour. You are a great asset to us. To mention your name everywhere. Before they say anything, Professor Olawuyi.
It's highly commendable and applaudable that such a person can break it even, I would say.
At the age of 32, he became a professor of law. At age 37, he became a learned Sikh. That is unprecedented. That is the reason why we have chosen to honor Professor Damilola Sunday Olawuyi.
What better person can you recommend for our teeming youth who seem to have lost confidence in a country, who seem not to know where they are going? I mean, the best mentor is Professor Sunday Olawuyi.
He has been my lecturer now for 2 years, and I can say that he's a role model. Everything he does, we want to achieve something better or like what he has done.
The chairman of the Young Lawyers Forum, Ikere chapter, Barrister Samson Aina, and the chairman of the planning committee, Barrister Toilope Olawuyi, said Professor Olawuyi deserves more than the honor offered him.
It is worthy of note that Professor Damilola Olawuyi, SAN, became Professor of Law at the age of 32 years and a Senior Advocate of Nigeria at the age of 37 years. Making him the youngest Professor of Law in Nigeria to attain the coveted rank of the Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Professor Damilola Olawuyi is also the first Senior Advocate of Nigeria to be produced by the Ikere branch of the NBA.
Nigeria is blessed with both human and material resources, yet it sits at the lowest ebb of economic development among the Committee of Nations. Key words to note in the YLF team for its inaugural symposium are 1. Sustainable development. 2. Economic development. 3. the role of a young lawyer?
I feel highly honored, and it's a great pleasure to have been found worthy by our colleagues in the profession to pick me out and say they want to honor me. It's really wonderful. Like I said earlier on, there are many people they could have chosen, but they decided to pick me as the first honoree of the Young Lawyers Forum, and I don't take that for granted at all. I really appreciate the honor. I thank God for making all of this possible, and I am glad that the young lawyers see my story and they feel inspired.
The soft-spoken senior advocate of Nigeria shares his experience as a law teacher and a practicing lawyer.
I see each of these as a calling and a responsibility. And so what I do is that I ensure that I create adequate time for each of these responsibilities. I find time I ensure that I spend time with my wife and my children to give them the support and the care that they deserve. I also find time to be involved in trainings and in professional activities. So, like I said, each responsibility comes with its own challenge, so I try to ensure that I put in my best in everything I do, whether it's family, professional, or even service to the community and society.
He has really challenged me because, I mean, if someone at his age can achieve this and like with the little resources he had, he attained the heights he has gotten to at this point, I feel like I should be able to do that soon.
It's a good avenue to learn from his achievement because, you know, Professor Olawuyi, SAN, is a frontliner in the legal profession and the academia. Young lawyers will find a lot of things to learn from his achievement. I think it's an effort in the right direction. I would describe him as someone who is very humble, very hardworking, and very dedicated.
Olawuyi has published close to 100 articles and books on petroleum law, energy, and international and environmental laws.
Apart from the books I've written on Nigeria, I do a lot of work in the Middle East. I have authored 2 books, especially in the Middle East. One is the book on climate change, this book on climate change law and policy in the Middle East and North Africa, which was published just last year. And this year, just a few months ago, I published another book called Environmental Law in Arab States, published by Oxford University Press. The book is well received because it will be the very first comprehensive text on environmental law in the Arab region. So everyone is excited about that, and the book looks at the environmental laws of 22 countries in the Arab region. So as a result of that book, I have continued my engagement. I've been asked to advise on the reforms of environmental laws in these countries. So over the next few months, I will be engaging in extensive travels across the Arab region, advising governments on how to integrate some of the findings of the book in their environmental laws and in their industry guidelines.
Professor Olawuyi serves on the executive committees and boards of several organizations.
I've always taken the advantage whenever the opportunity arises. I've always contributed my best. I was appointed by President Muhammadu Buhari to be a member of the governing board of NEITI, as the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. I did not turn it down. I'm a member of the board of NEITI, so I'm continuing to advise in that capacity. So it depends on the capacity. It depends on if the opportunity is the right one. So like I always say, when the opportunity comes, I will prayerfully consider. But as of today, I am an academic.
Within Africa and on the global stage, Professor Olawuyi has enjoyed extreme success in his career as an educationist and energy expert. To this end, he has received numerous local and international awards. In all this, he ascribes his success today to Ààrẹ Afe Babalola, the founder of Afe Babalola University, Abuad, who discovered him.
For me, I've been very fortunate and privileged to have benefited from the kind mentoring of the greatest mentor of all times, Ààrẹ Afe Babalola, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, LLB OFR, who is the Chancellor and founder of Abuad, Afe Babalola University. He has invested a lot of knowledge in all of us there, and I've been very lucky to have been able to learn from him. Everything I know today, whether it is hard work, excellence, entrepreneurship, the ability to keep your promises, the ability to take care of the society, and the ability to care for the underprivileged. I've learned all of those from him. And at his age, his story remains inspiring. Every new day is a new opportunity to learn with him. So I think I've been very fortunate to have been under his mentoring.
The professor of law could not hide his joy as he offers songs of praise to God, having helped him this far.
Come and see what the Lord has done. Come and see what the Lord has done. Come and see what the Lord has done. It is marvelous in our eyes.
People of the Fountain,